Okay then, good evening councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I just remind people there's no speaking allowed at the back, it's only the mayor and the councillor allowed to speak, otherwise whoever's ever taken the minutes will not hear what's being recorded. Unfortunately we've got no officers for the council tonight, but we can have a councillor take the minutes if that's agreed, so I'd like to make a recommendation that Councillor, Mr Pennington, Councillor Pennington, are prepared to take the minutes. Is council agreed with that? Are you happy? Proposer? Seconder? All in favour? Yes. Thank you. You alright there, Councillor Pennington, or do you want to come up here?
I'll do my best.
Okay. You might hear better down there. Thank you. Item 1, Chair's open remarks. I held a meeting in the jury room on Friday the 2nd of March to hopefully reform the Sandwich Bronx Renee, Twinning Association. This association was Sandwich's oldest twin town. It was notable, unfortunately, that no town councillors were present, and although I've received apologies from 2 councillors, I intend to persevere with reforming the Twinning Association, and I have since received more offers of help. During the month I attended the Mayor of Canterbury's dinner and also a musical evening at Deal Town Hall. Saturday the 18th of March was a special day for Sandwich. Our museum coordinator arranged for the Wheel of Time annual event to be held here in the Guildhall. This was extra special because the Lord Lieutenant, the Lady Colbrane, attended. There are over 50 Kent museums represented and she talked to everyone. The Lord Lieutenant, I believe, has agreed to be patron of the Wheels of Time and would like to visit all the museums during her term of office. The museum coordinator has done a brilliant job promoting Sandwich and especially our museum. And that's item 2 is apologies for absence, and obviously apologies from Councillor Graham. Councillor Pennington, oh, I'll give you a copy of that, alright.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Got apologies from Councillor Graham, personal commitment, and apologies from Councillor Nicholas Gray, who's not very well. Okay. Item 3, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. No. Item 4.
Post acceptance.
Okay. You're proposing that seconder? Are we all in favour that it take the minutes for absences? Okay. Thank you. Item 4. Minutes of the full council meeting. Attachment 1. To approve the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Sandwich Town Council held on the 27th of February 2023 and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere on this agenda. Do we have a Councillor Morehouse?
Item 090223. Report of the District Council on matters directly related to Sandwich. The minutes state that one of the DDC representatives will be circulating an update via email. The recording of the meeting on Monday the 27th of February confirms it's for 20 minutes. No such update has been distributed, although I believe at least 2 items of pertinence should have been advised to this council. Firstly, the tourism networking meeting held on the St Mary's Arts Centre in Strand Street on Tuesday the 14th of March. To which neither the chair of the tourism working group nor Anne-Marie Alvin, who is in effect de facto tourism manager during the TLC's closure, they were not invited. There was no advance warning of the DDC budget meeting held just 2 days after our last full council meeting, that being Wednesday the 1st of March. It transpires that DDC have decided to increase their precept to the council tax by 3%. No doubt the DDC representative report this evening will provide a full justification for this increase and to advise on what improvements council taxpayers in Sandwich can look forward to as a result. Following on from that, item 0100223, report from the KCC representative for Sandwich. Again, the minutes state the KCC representative will be circulating an update via email. Recording the meeting held on Monday the 27th of February confirms this at 26 minutes. Again, no such update has been distributed. And this update should have included a report on the KCC budget meeting held on the 9th of February, which was some 11 working days before our last council meeting, in which KCC agreed on a 3% increase in the precept with a further 2% increase for adult social care. In the midst of a cost of living crisis, Sandwich Town Council has considered that the damaging economic impact upon households any increase in council tax will have by freezing the precept. Yet for DDC and KCC, it's business as usual. And I would expect our elected representatives to at least provide some sugarcoating for this bitter bill in the form of a commitment to provide a tangible improvement in services. To provide an example from a KCC perspective, I would cite the approach roads into the town as an example of where improvement is urgently required, as they are in an appalling state of disrepair at present. I appreciate the information given by Councillor Chandler regarding the pothole repair programme in autumn 2022, but when can we expect to have a long-term solution, as it cannot be economically prudent to keep patching out the roads and hoping for the best. Following on from that, item 190223, debate not hate. Having approved this agenda item at the last STC meeting 4 weeks ago, I am perplexed by the badly written joint press release dated the 23rd of March from the South Cannock Conservative Association and Craig McKinley MP, which contradicts the commitment that we here voted upon. With respect to the press release itself, whoever composed it made a contradictory statement in advising in the first paragraph that it is with great regret that we announce the Conservative Party will not field any official candidates due to the unacceptable behaviour of the Sandwich Matters Coalition. It then closes by advising that we remain committed to safeguarding the interests of our community, and we will work tirelessly to ensure that Sandwich Town Council operates in an open, transparent and accountable manner that is free from intimidation and harassment. But if the conduct of the councillors who are not members of the Conservative Party is so deplorable, why would the Conservative Party decide to stand aside and allow this alleged pattern of behaviour to continue? How do you propose to safeguard the interests of our community if you don't provide any opposition? Item 220223, Coronation Weekend. At our last meeting we agreed to write to DDC and ask whether the 3rd of March deadline could be extended. Has that happened? Because it appears to me that it's the same situation as with the funding for the Jubilee last year. The DDC have leaving it to lastminute.com to make any announcement. It gives people no time to prepare. And finally, item 240223, the King Street road closure sign replacement. Has that road sign been ordered? And if so, is it a like-for-like replacement, or has a heavy-duty polypropylene sign been sourced? Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to ask something about the thing from Craig McKinley. Now, I've read that, and it's lie after lie after lie. You're going to say it's nothing to do with Sandwich Town Council, but it is everything to do. I mean, it states that there are councillors in here that have blackmailed the Conservative councillors. Have you seen that happen?
No, it's rubbish, isn't it?
It's absolute rubbish, but the people sitting at home that don't watch this meeting won't know. They'll believe it.
Yeah, I know, I agree with
And
you.
I'm sure that it was some of the councillors in this room that wrote it. And it's rubbish. It's nasty rubbish. Do you remember you said something to the CEO last year and you had to go to DDC? It was one sentence. They're marking everybody with this.
Mm.
It says the coalition.
That was me, though, personally. That was,
I beg your pardon?
that was a personal statement that I made to that, the CEO.
Yeah, okay, I understand. And this is a personal statement made against every single one of us in this room, except for two.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I know you're going to, but something needs to be done about it. A press release needs to go out to say this is undoubtedly not true.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
See what we can do. 'cause it's not right. It doesn't reflect on the town council at all.
No, it's the exact opposite of what goes on in the town.
You know, I couldn't believe he wrote it actually,
I know who wrote
because I
it.
do know him very well.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So, we want to approve the minutes. Councillor,
Sorry, I wasn't present, so I can't vote on these
Yeah.
minutes, nor can Councillor Mrs Carter.
no. Have we got a, you propose it? You second it, Councillor Morehouse? We all in favour of the minutes? I think we are. Thank you. Item 5. Minutes of the extraordinary council meeting. To approve the minutes of the Assembly Town Council extraordinary meeting held on the 15th of March 2023, attachment 2.
Recommend approval, Mr Mayor.
Okay, do you have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Morehouse. Did you get that, Councillor Carter? Councillor Morehouse?
Yeah.
Mr Mayor, sorry, I will be voting, I'll be abstaining because I wasn't at the
No,
meeting.
okay. Okay. All in favour then of approve the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting? I think everyone, 2 abstentions. Yeah, okay, thank you. Item 6. Minutes of the Heritage and Townscape Committee meeting. To approve the minutes of the H&G Committee meeting held on the 13th of March 2023, attachment 3. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The minutes that are attached to this agenda are not the final iteration.
No.
I received the iteration that is attached to this agenda. The Heritage and Townscape meeting was on the Monday. The draft minutes were sent to me on Wednesday morning, and I corrected them on Wednesday morning and sent them back to the acting town clerk, but I believe that he had actually left
Yeah.
by the time he received them. So it's very unfortunate that the version that he sent me is attached to this meeting's agenda. So what I would like to do is postpone the minutes of the Heritage and Townscape meeting until the next meeting of the council, when we will hopefully receive the final iteration.
I
I'll
second that.
second that.
Yeah, the clerk did say to me they were rather vague. So you've got to postpone it until the next meeting.
Yes.
You've got to so you're all in favour of that, then we do that with that. Thank you. Item 7, minutes of the Planning Committee. To approve the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 15th of March 2023, attachment 4. Councillor Carter.
Propose approval of these minutes, Mr Mayor.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Councillor Carter and Councillor Wales. You all in favour of that, please? Thank you. You all right? Okay, thank you. 8. Payment schedules. 8A. To receive and note the payments for mid-March totalling £41,174.44. Those payments which are not supported by a minute reference have been authorised by officers with delegated powers of expenditure. Do you want to do them en bloc? Or do you want to do a
I think
separate?
there was the question of
Okay.
the authorities.
Yeah, we
wasn't
do
there, as
separate,
well,
thank you,
so
yeah.
We can do.
Okay. To receive and note, so you, do we have proposals the first one?
Propose
Second up,
approval.
Councillor Carter,
Second.
Councillor Wiles, all in favour? Lovely, thank you. 8B, to receive and approve the schedule of payments for March totalling £12,580.09, attachment 8B, okay. Right,
Propose
that?
acceptance.
yeah,
Mr Mayor, may I speak beforehand, please?
yeah,
Thank you. So, Mr Mayor, I had a discussion with the responsible finance officer last week regarding payments to the temporary town clerk. So here as follows. In January, bear with me. In January of this year, the town clerk was paid £1,356 for 56.5 hours at £24 per hour. In February, the temporary town clerk was paid £2,358 for 58.25 hours at £24 an hour, and in March the Temple Town Clerk was paid £1,398 for 58.25 hours at £24 an hour. Can I ask the council where this money's coming from? Because the contingency fund for the staff contingency fund was only £2,000, and that's obliterated that. So I wanted to know where the money's coming from.
They do have reserves, councillor. There is reserves.
Where from?
The town council has reserves.
In what
Look,
aspects? in the
councillor, look, we haven't got a finance officer here
I
tonight.
appreciate that.
I can get that answer back to you, but not tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay? Thank you. So where were we? 8B.
Proposed acceptance,
Yeah.
Mr.
The seconder? Yeah. Councillor Morehouse. All in favour? Thank you. 8C. Council confirm nomination of Councillor Franklin and Councillor Sampson to authorise end of March payment schedules on bank line. You propose?
Second.
Councillor Fox and Councillor... All in favour? Thank you. 8D. Council to confirm nomination of authorised signatories to authorise mid-April payment schedules on bank line. I think the finance officers get very well because we've got an election coming up and we only have the two at the moment. So I don't know how the election... So she'd like some extras, especially those that are going to stand. Hopefully you'll get on, but if not, but she'd like to have extra cover.
Mr. Mayor, may I suggest we put this in with item 14 of the agenda? The item 14 of the agenda is for the bank account signatories.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put these two together.
Okay?
This, I'll propose, Mr. Mayor, for item 8D that Councillor Franklin and Councillor Sampson are chosen
Yeah.
for mid-April signatories, if that's agreeable with Councillor Sampson, of course.
Yeah, we've got a seconder for that.
I'll second
Yeah.
it.
All in favour? Okay. So, item 9, we've got public participation. We've got 5 speakers tonight and we only set aside 15 minutes for this. So I must ask people that they only speak for the 3 minutes. And the first one we've got is Adrian and Sue Sullivan. Please.
Good evening, Council, and thank you for your time. We're Adrian and Sue Sullivan. We represent the Friends of Bethsanger, which is a group of local residents and wildlife experts who've come together to oppose the planning applications to build a sea-high surfing lagoon and a luxury 5-star hotel in the middle of Bethsanger Country Park. Our main concerns, of course, are wildlife and loss of green space, which Sue will address in just a moment. And I will just list a few of the other considerations that are of high concern. First, this sea-high 200 metres long concrete lagoon will be lit by 40 80-foot high lighting towers for night surfing. In the Deal to Sandwich landscape, if you know the road, this is a high elevated position on the old spoil tip, which will have a devastating effect on the landscape and the wildlife of the area. The lagoon will take 30 million litres of water to fill, and then it will be topped up on a daily basis due to evaporations. In an area of water scarcity, this does not seem to make any sense. Projected visitors are between 200,000 and 700,000, depending on which presentation the owners have given and to different bodies. 700,000 people, or shall we say somewhere in the middle, 500,000 people, on Deal Road to Sandwich Road, coming in off the Easterly bypass on those narrow roads, where we already have traffic jams, also doesn't make sense. The energy required to produce these waves is equivalent to 300 to 400 homes on a daily basis. In a time of climate change, this just doesn't seem to add up. The final consideration is, all that glitters is not gold. It's projected that it'll be good for the local economy. most of the economy will be on site in hotels, bars and accommodation, and will have very little impact on the wider economy, only to draw workers, probably already from our hospitality industry in Deal and Sandwich. Now, I will pass over to Sue, who will give you the wildlife perspective.
Good. 30 seconds.
We're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis, and if you've been watching David Attenborough's programme, Wild Isles, you'll know that we are one of the most nature depleted countries in the whole world. But there are some hotspots for nature, and one of them is Betsanger Country Park. In fact, it was considered to be so important when it was first set up that Dover District Council was meant to designate it as a local nature reserve under an S106 agreement. Somehow or other, it never happened. So it's a really rich site for biodiversity. And I'm just going to give you a few examples of why it's important for
It's going to be
nature.
very quick. You're 3 minutes is up. I've got 15 minutes.
Okay,
Have you got a written report you could give us, share us?
no, I'll be 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, right. We've got the second most important colony of lizard orchids. You've got the first one at Sandwich Bay, but it's Betsanger Country Park. It's the second most important colony of lizard orchids. That's where they want to put the surf lagoon. Then, from the Discovery Park, they translocated 1,300 common lizards, the reptiles, from the Discovery Park to Betsanger Country Park for their long-term protection. But they're in the way of the surf lagoon, so they will have to be moved again. And then the third species that is really concerning are the turtle doves. It's a place for turtle doves, which, as you may know, is the UK's fastest declining bird species, numbers having declined by 98%. And they are now under threat at Betsanger Country Park. We've had the most amazing support from most of the conservation charities, RSPB, Natural England, CPRE, Plant Life, Bug Life, Frog Life, Sandwich Bay Bird Observatory. They're all standing up for wildlife and saying this shouldn't happen. We're calling on you, Sandwich Town Council, to do the same, please. Stand up for wildlife and oppose the application at Betsanger. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. If you do do it in future, if you do not have a written one, then we can always send.
We could always send you one if you
We
like.
could send you one.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2 is Graham Doyle. Please. Okay.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, and to councillors. Please refer to the map on page 3 of your handout. Last April, DDC paved the way for Statcraft UK Limited to submit a planning application for a 180-acre, 73-hectare solar farm on Ash Level that's large enough to accommodate 102 football pitches with a licence of 40 years. The proposed site is on very productive agricultural land, which can only be accessed by single-track residential lanes, namely East Street and Cooper Street Drove. The site is very important to wildlife, including indigenous and migrating birds. Kent Wildlife Trust have identified the majority of the site as a local wildlife site as indicated in the Dover District Local Plan. In the middle of the site is the course of the Roman Road Causeway from Richborough Roman Fort to Dover. The site is on what was once part of Wonson Channel, and the potential archaeology here is highly significant. Furthermore, the historic landscape context and views are vitally important, whereby views to and from the former Richborough Island to the mainland will be destroyed if the solar farm is built. This comes at a time when the Roman Fort and Amphitheatre are about to reopen to the public. The Roman Fort is already within direct view of industrial sites on 2 points of the compass, and this proposal would make it 3. Statcraft's detailed planning application to DDC is expected in the next 2 to 3 months. Scores of local residents have come together to fight the application and set up the Save Ash Level campaign, with a website with news, facts and figures. In the last week, we have set up a Just Giving crowdfunding account in order to employ professional planning and wildlife consultants. Statcraft held a public consultation at short notice at Ash Village Hall on the 17th of March. Here it became apparent that Statkraft had not built a solar farm in the UK before, and that access is an issue which they still need to address. They also stated that construction will involve up to 50 vehicle movements per day from anywhere between 6 and 12 months. When questioned, Statkraft were unable to comment on the impact that the development would have on local tourism and the degree of commerce which the tourist industry supports in Sandwich and Ash, with holiday accommodation, pubs, restaurants, shops and Sandwich fishing lakes. In planning terms, we believe that the proposal fails principally under the headings of heritage, ecology and biodiversity, landscape and access. In wider terms, we believe in renewable energy, but that it should be in the right place, such as on brownfield sites, and hopefully a government policy for solar panels on roofs of commercial buildings and new build housing. This is the CPRE's latest campaign. We also believe that national food security is a vital factor. The UK imports 48% of its food as it is. We have been approached by BBC South East Today and have agreed to an interview and feature to be aired when Statkraft's application is submitted. Councillors, we appeal to you to raise your objections to this proposal when the planning application is submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, you're done. Number 3.
Good evening. I addressed full council in January, highlighting the danger to road users and pedestrians caused by restricted visibility when buses are parked at the Guildhall bus stand B on the corner of Cattle Market. Several residents wrote letters of complaint and received a response in January from David Parish, the DDC project manager responsible for this bus stand, stating it has been the subject of a safety audit to ensure that the design meets highway safety standards. There are therefore no plans to make any changes to the works as constructed. I submitted freedom of information requests to DDC and KCC for all planning and approval documents regarding the bus stand relocation, including traffic surveys, risk assessments and safety audits. I received only the aforementioned road safety audit in response. Whilst it failed to recognise risks associated with buses pulling out and pedestrians crossing the road between the Old Bank and the Guildhall, it did recognise the problem of restricted visibility when buses are stopped on the corner and requested the bus stop to be moved further away from the junction. The KCC designer and the DDC sponsor declined the auditor's advice, saying that cars will creep beyond the giveway to further aid visibility and that DDC will ask Stagecoach to manage where the buses sit when they are waiting, as the bus only needs to sit at the most westerly stop when there is a bus at the primary stop needing to pull out. Unfortunately, the problem of buses using the bus stand on the very corner of Cattle Market continues unabated. The proposed mitigation measures are not working, more than likely because a raised curb has not been installed further away from the corner for bus stand B. Buses must stop where passengers can alight. This is not a case of Stagecoach being awkward, but of DDC project management failing to install a safer bus stand as described in the road safety audit. I supplied a copy of the full road safety audit report to STC at the Heritage and Townscape Committee meeting this month, together with the road safety audit exception report showing the aforesaid mitigation measures. Please would officers note this in the minutes. Councillor Pennington. This is important. Now that STC have sight of the road safety audit and an awareness of the failed mitigation measures, STC cannot ignore the problem without becoming complicit in endangering road users and pedestrians at that junction. What is the council doing about the dangerous location of the new bus stand? I would welcome an update from Councillor Wiles and Councillor Murray on your correspondence with DDC on this matter. I am especially concerned that delays in the council taking action may result in the footway surface being finished before proper consideration has been given to the bus stand configuration and adjustments made, thus increasing the cost of any remedial works. The safety and well-being of residents is business as usual and should not be compromised by sensitivities in the pre-election period. Thank you.
Okay. Number 4 is Mrs. Sally Hayter. Welcome back, Mrs. Hayter.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure you've missed me.
I have.
Good evening, everyone. I was astounded to read the attachment to February's agenda, which was presented by Councillor Sampson. Astounded because in 5 years of attending STC meetings, I have very rarely, if ever, heard any resident behave in an abusive manner towards a councillor. I have, however, heard councillors speak in a rude, intimidating and misogynistic manner towards fellow councillors and occasionally to residents. Given this proposal seems such a one-sided presentation, in the interest of fairness, democracy and transparency, I rang LGA, spoke with someone from head office and expressed my concerns. It was explained to me that the Debate Not Hate paper, which I am in favour of, was there to highlight potential issues facing councillors, but of equal importance and not mentioned by Councillor Sampson was their paper headed Model Councillor Code of Conduct, some of which I list below, and which I request, in conjunction with Councillor Sampson's proposal, that STC agree to adopt all of LGA's Code of Conduct in order, as they say, to protect the public, safeguard the public's trust in local government and maintain public confidence in the role of councillor. Just like Councillor Sampson, I would ask for a full recorded vote to be taken on this request, and I would also ask that this proposal be attached to the minutes in full for the benefit of residents. Here are some of their conduct rules. Do not bring the role or local authority into disrepute. Uphold high standards of conduct. Do not misuse council resources. Be accountable to the public for decisions and actions and submit to the scrutiny necessary to ensure this. Should be willing to challenge poor behaviour wherever it occurs. Do not harass anyone, which includes electronic and social media communication. In conclusion, I find it extremely worrying that Councillor Sampson presented such a one-sided point of view, as not only is it unfair, it does not bode well for the quality of future decision making. When reading his proposal, the following words stood out to me.
Mrs. Hayter, yes, please.
Yes, but they had a bit longer, so I've got about 3 lines to go.
All right.
Thank you. Now I've lost my place now, Mr. Mayor, but it's going to take longer.
Oh, no.
When reading this proposal, the following words stood out, and I quote, I have noticed more and more in the past year that since I was elected, the level of intimidation and abuse I've seen has been steadily increasing. Maybe he and some of his colleagues should reflect on those words, reflect on their conduct, and agree to adhere in full to LGA's Code of Conduct for Councillors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to run over a bit there, Mr Mayor.
Yeah. Not like you,
It's
is it?
age
It's
related.
not like you. Okay.
Well said, Mrs. Housebound.
Thank you.
Okay. Speaker number 5
Only speak the truth.
is
So I
William,
ain't the devil.
Mr. William Fortescue. Hello, Will.
That's on camera.
Well, I'm William Fortescue of Upper Strand Street, Sandwich, and I've been asked to read out a statement issued by Philip Woodhouse, also of Upper Strand Street, Sandwich, who is one of the trustees of the Jubilee Centre, Sandwich. And this is his statement. The trustees of the Jubilee Centre would like to set the record straight to Sandwich Town Council and to all the residents of Sandwich following the circulation of a leaflet from the South Thanet Conservative Association concerning what was the Phoenix Centre and is now the Jubilee Centre Community Hub. This leaflet, promoted by Councillors Dan Friend, Sue Chandler and Harry Sampson, claims that Councillor Friend and fellow councillors have, quote, fulfilled their commitment to ensure that the Phoenix Centre remain a community hub, unquote. The leaflet goes on to state that, quote, Councillor Friend, Sampson and colleagues are committed to ensuring that community resources like the Phoenix Centre remain open and accessible, unquote. Whilst the trustees acknowledge that Councillors Friend and Chandler attended a limited number of roundtable meetings regarding the reopening of the Phoenix Centre as the Jubilee Centre, it was in fact a group of residents of Sandwich who first formed the Friends of the Phoenix Centre and then set about securing the centre to be listed as an asset of community value in 2022. Without this action, there was very little hope of the Phoenix Centre surviving at all. Previous to that, there had been in fact a distinct lack of support for the Phoenix Centre during the very challenging COVID period, from either the trustees of the Tollbridge Fund or from Dover District Council, and this led to the centre closing in February 2021. The Friends of the Phoenix Centre, together with other residents of the town, then proceeded to take on an enormous amount of work towards reopening the centre, which has included setting up a new charity, negotiating with DDC for a new lease, and bringing together a group of trustees for the newly named Jubilee Centre. During this period, the trustees have received support from the leader, deputy leader, and several officers of DDC, but the claim made by the councillors specified in the leaflet is not wholly accurate. The trustees are also particularly concerned that this good news story is being used for party political purposes. There is absolutely no political bias in any direction amongst the trustees, only a common goal of getting the Jubilee Centre up and running and serving our community again for the good of Sandwich. We hope that this statement clearly sets out the actual facts of the matter and that the South Thanet Conservative Association withdraw any further distribution of this leaflet without delay. We also hope the Jubilee Centre, formerly the Phoenix Centre, will not be referred to in this way in any future Conservative Party publications. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add something.
No, you can't. No.
Yes, I can.
No.
It's in the rules. I
Was
can.
it?
Yeah. One thing I'd just like to say is that it wasn't all Sandwich Tollbridge Fund that helped to close the Jubilee Centre. There's only 2 people in this room that helped to close Jubilee Centre, isn't there?
Not getting into that.
Why not? Because you should not put a leaflet out that has lie upon lie upon lie in it.
There's no lies.
Well, okay, but you don't.
Councillor, please.
There are lies in it. I've got it here if you want. I can read it out.
I don't need to see it.
Can we just vote we're in purdah at the moment, so we can't really speak about stuff.
Well,
Why not?
that's ridiculous.
Councillor, please.
The law is that you don't lie on the leaflet, Councillor Chandler.
Councillor.
That is the law.
The law is purdah, so we don't speak about it.
Oh, doesn't matter what
Come on,
we do,
Councillor,
we don't
please.
speak around.
Please. Councillor Walsh.
Yes, Mr Mayor, as a matter of courtesy, if we could just respond to the 2 speakers from Ash Levels and Betsanger,
Yeah.
to say that I think both of these applications should be at some point considered by the planning committee, even though they're not in Sandwich. They
No.
obviously impact upon Sandwich.
We
in
will
terms of
comment.
setting amenity and economy, so
Yeah.
I think we should discuss them here and make a comment to DDC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If councillors are agreeable to that.
Yeah, generally the neighbouring parishes, we do get to comment on neighbouring proposals. Okay, thank you. Item 10. Report from our Dover District Council on matters relating to Sandwich. Councillor Flynn?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a couple of bits and then Councillor Chandler is going to pick up on some others. The first bit I had was about policing at DDC. We had an update to the overview and scrutiny panel. We had Paul Burrell, who's the Dover District Commander for Kent Police, who gave us an update about the neighbourhood policing review, which will result in a net increase of 10 warranted officers in the Dover District Council area, which is a hugely positive development. The other one I will mention is in Councillor Morehouse's party political broadcast. He mentioned about the Dover District Council budget increase of 2.98%, which represents just over £6 a year. Obviously, with inflation running as it is, that represents good value for money. We're preserving our services, and it would be a reminder that amount in the Sandwich area is less than this council has wasted in the last month. So it represents very good value for money. And I'll let Councillor Chandler pick up on that.
I don't think we've wasted any money. Councillor Chandler.
It's
Sorry,
purdah,
Councillor.
But it is purdah.
No,
You're not allowed to speak,
no.
remember? So he said something against Councillor Morehouse, which he shouldn't. So I'm just telling you, it's purdah. Apparently so.
Councillor Chandler. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. So for those members of the public who haven't met me before, my name is Sue Chandler and I am District Councillor for Sandwich until May, but I'm a Kent County Councillor also. So I'm going to start by talking about the Guildhall forecourt and the project that is literally going on down there, not at this time of day clearly, but during the day. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I received some somewhat surprising emails following the last Sandwich Town Council meeting. So I thought it would be helpful to just revisit a little the history of the Guildhall forecourt and the projects that we're seeing going ahead now. So in 2016, there was a joint authority project which was started and which resulted in the publication about which way for Sandwich. I'm sure there's a copy of this in the archives, Mr Mayor. That report was published and there was consultation that was held on that, and it indicates the strategic value of the forecourt down there, and people were the people who came to the consultations were absolutely adamant that the forecourt was a particularly important area of Sandwich and they'd like to see it improved. And it's probably worth reminding people at this point that the state of the forecourt as it was before. So the nearly 50-year-old surface had sunk in places. it was coming adrift in many other places. The granite sets were not level, and drainage was a particular issue. And so doing nothing was not an option. The surface had to have some work done to it. And so a project board was set up, and that resulted in consultants being appointed to provide a new plan. And in November 18, that plan was consulted on. And from that consultation, 82% of the people who visited indicated that they were broadly in support of that particular plan. So Dover District Council set aside funding and set about finding funding for the remaining amount of the cost, which has been considerable. Obviously we had 2 years of COVID in between that, and so the actual work on the forecourt was delayed, and in the intervening time there were some changes to legislation, particularly around buses. And it's worth remembering also that the previous arrangement of the forecourt with the double bus space created a significant amount of gridlock in the town quite often, and also created a situation where traffic, when the buses were on the far side of the double stand, traffic would come inside the buses to create quite a dangerous situation for pedestrians. So it was sought to improve that at that particular time. So at the beginning of the project last August, there was communication that was put out in detail, leaflets, social media, and a significant amount of information on the website. So anybody who wishes to have ongoing information and could sign up to the DDC Keep Me Posted page. And so that process was ongoing. There was also a DDC community officer who was here every Thursday on market day, so that anyone who wished to have any further information could speak to her and get the information that they needed, and that has happened consistently. So it's really good now to see that the forecourt is taking shape. The highways work obviously was completed before Christmas, and the main work on the forecourt is now well underway, and the Yorkstone paving, which is recycled Yorkstone paving, which was fortuitously sourced in advance to try and reduce costs, because we all know that the cost of construction of any kind has risen astronomically, is now being laid, and the flat surfaced granite sets, which are going in the centre, will begin to be laid very soon, if they aren't already, and I'm not sure some arrived last week. I just wanted to sort of say that this project, which has cost just over £1 million, is well underway, due to be finished in May, and I'm sure that everybody's looking forward to having that very disabled friendly surface, which will add to the amenities with its 5 trees that have specially constructed tree pits to keep them healthy and help them grow, as a real investment in the town of Sandwich. Now, I should also mention that this information had, in fact, a lot of this information had in fact been conveyed to a Sandwich Town Councillor before the last meeting, so I'm slightly surprised that it wasn't shared with the council at the last meeting, Mr. Mayor. However, I will move on now to Kent County Council, and Mr. Morehouse, you're right. I am going to start my report tonight with the budget. So since my last report, the KCC budget for 23-24 has been approved by Council. Councillors will recall that I have reported this a number of times in the context of the financial challenge that the Council has faced. The total revenue budget of £1.3 billion incorporates £216.8 million of growth, £39.1 million of savings. For the first time for many years, transfers from reserves will be required to balance the budget. It also includes a 4.99% rise in council tax, 2% of which is ring-fenced for adult social services. The greatest growth demand is in both adults and children's social services. Within the adult service, the biggest increase in costs are in residential and nursing care costs and the complexity of need. In the children's service, it is home to school transport and the placement costs for children in care. We have a slight increase in the number of children in care, but as with adults, much greater complexity of need. There are also pressures on the capital budget, with the cost of building and construction escalating significantly. Councillor Morehouse spoke specifically about highways earlier on, and I have recently had some correspondence with a resident who was talking about the approach roads to Sandwich. So I can tell you that Ramsgate Road is on the maintenance schedule, the forward plan maintenance schedule, and the other approach roads to Sandwich will be inspected by the highways officers in the next few weeks, and clearly any significant potholes will be remedied, because that always is, and it's worth reminding people that they can report potholes through the KCC reporting service, and they will then get filled. There is a priority if there's a safety issue with those potholes, they will obviously be done much quicker. And so if there's significant failures, then they will be addressed. But the highways budget that we have available to us has been reducing considerably in the last few years, and so in many cases the maintenance schedule has had to be adjusted to take account of that. And as I mentioned earlier on, inevitably the cost of construction of highways and materials that we use to mend highways and to actually improve services have also increased considerably. So moving on the 1st of March, a record number of children across Kent found out the secondary schools at which they've been offered a place from September. And more than 95% of pupils received an offer from one of their 4 preferred schools. So the report that I'll send, Mr. Mayor, does have some more numbers attached to that, but in the interest of time, I won't go into those. And Kent County Council is delighted to have been designated by the Department for Education as one of only 14 trailblazer councils in the government's Family Hubs project, which is intended to provide support to families and young children to help them overcome difficulties and build strong relationships. So the announcement also brings a one-off grant of $182,000 towards initial work on formulating details on the precise plans, as well as access to more than 10 million transformation funding for implementing them over the next 2 years. So a total of 75 authorities have been given government approval for the Family Hub scheme, but of these only 14 have been given trailblazer status. And finally, I wanted to highlight an event that is part of the coronation celebrations on Monday the 8th of May. There is the Big Help Out. So this event is being organised by the Together Coalition and will include support from partners such as the Royal Voluntary Service, faith groups from around the United Kingdom and Scouts. And it will highlight the positive impact that volunteering has on communities and the satisfaction it can bring to people giving up their time to volunteer and bring about change. And finally, just to reassure the Council that I remain totally committed to the interests of Sandwich as we go forwards. And to Mrs. Hayter, is she still with us? But to Mrs. Hayter, I just wanted to thank her for pointing out the local government code of conduct, which all councillors, of course, understand. Certainly I do. And just to reiterate on another point, that I have certainly received a lot more vitriolic correspondence from residents in the last year than I have done before.
That's sad.
It is very sad.
Very sad.
Thank you, Councillor.
Are you looking at me?
No, I'm waiting for Councillor Pennington's doing the minutes. Are you alright?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Item 12. updates from councillors, to receive and note verbal updates from councillors' meetings that they have attended and as nominated representatives of the council. Councillor Sampson.
Yep, so the usual from me. So Sandwich Community Christmas Lights, they have their AGM on the 14th of March, and thanks to other councillors who attended as well. Simon Mallet was elected chairman, Dee Marie vice chair, Siobhan Matthews as secretary, and Steve Laslett as treasurer. There are also additional committee members of David Silk, Andrew Price, and Helena Knight. There are 2 vacancies still on the committee. In terms of other updates, bunting is going to be put up before the coronation. There'll be an additional 30 flags as well on 1.5 metre poles. They're aiming to this mid-April. Again, if anybody wants to lend a hand, please get in touch with us. For the Christmas lights this year, they're planning to do more around the forecourt once it's completed. Yeah, so once we've had a bit of a good look at the forecourt after the work's done, we can sort of evaluate what needs to be done. There'll be multiple lighting strings, a new French and English Christmas sign, which would be rather nice, from the Home Twinning Association. They're curious, so the request they have is they want to know whether we'll be able to put lights on the new trees in the forecourt or not. For the town, there's also additional strings from repurposed lengths, and they're extending the lights to include more around the New Inn and Aussies, as well as the waiting room, at those businesses' request. We're also looking at making up sets of lights that can be offered for shops for displaying their frontage.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Moran.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, it's just to deal with, so to update the councillors, so I sent an email out last month before, regarding the East Kent District Scouts St George's Day Parade that's being held in Sandwich on the 23rd of April. It's just to reiterate that I've invited yourself, Mr Mayor, which you've accepted.
Yeah.
An email went through just for regarding an approval. Just to say it's an informal for if any councillors wish to attend that. There'll be over 300 children from the Scout movement, from the East Kent District, from 9 different Scout troops around the area. It's parading from the quay down to St Clement's Church to have a quick church service where they'll renew their Scout promise and then escort themselves back down to the quay where they'll be inspected by yourself and the Dover District Council Chairman. So if any councillors wish to come and take part in that, they're more than welcome to. If not, you can help with some road closures for the parade in the afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor. I'm looking forward to it, actually. I think Councillor Walls has got a dry throat. Okay.
Mr Mayor.
Oh, Councillor Morehouse. Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I attended the Dover Area Committee meeting of CalCon at Guston Village Hall on Wednesday, the 1st of March. Southern Water were invited to attend to talk about water supply and sewage, but declined the invitation. The chairman, Keith Garrett, has announced that he has been elected to be vice chairman of CALC as a county-wide organisation. He remains chairman of the Dover Area Committee, but he will be the vice chairman of the CALC. He suggested that as this is the first time the 3 most senior officers are from the south and east of the county, that was an important factor, as there is, as we should all know, quite a profound economic disparity between North and West Kent and South and East Kent. Though quite how they will manage to address this differential remains to be seen. There was much criticism over the revision of the last revision of bus services, because it is now taking 47 minutes for a bus to travel between Deal and Sandwich. And prior to the changes, it was a 30-minute journey. And CALC asks how sustainable developments are going to adjust for this. How is that sustainable? The other area that was in relation to climate change, which was discussed, was about the lack of solar panels and for new development, and some kind of a rollout of insulation for existing housing. Again, going back to council tax, CALC lamented that all 12 local authorities in Kent are well above the national average. And finally, a CALC objective is that parish and town councils should receive a percentage of the business rate revenue for retention by town and parish council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, I just wanted to say that I think the council should show recognition in the minutes for our museum coordinator, Millie. I attended the Wheels of Time, as did yourself and a couple of other councillors. But I think it should be recognised that Millie single-handedly put this event on, and it was a much more notable event than everybody actually realised. For number one, it brought quite a large number of people from different parts of Kent to our very tiny little town of Sandwich, and they were all extremely impressed by the town and what we're doing. One of the curators from one of the other museums said that we obviously punch massively above our weight for such a small town with a small number of people there. And more notably, I just wanted to say, to bring somebody like the Lord Lieutenant of Kent to Sandwich is no mean feat.
No.
So I just wanted it to be known that the Guildhall staff worked extremely hard, and this member of staff, Millie, went above and beyond her call of duty. I just want that recognised in the minutes.
I did mention that in my opening address.
Happy to second that,
But
Mr.
the,
Mayor.
we're in favour of that one with this
Yeah.
amendment. I don't like to mention names, Councillor. Okay, hopefully this is a congratulatory email to the museum coordinator. I think we're in favour of that, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I would like to say the Lord Lieutenant, she's a lovely lady. I've met her 3 times now, and she will be coming back to have a look around our museum at some point, so that'd be brilliant. She has promised to visit all the 54 museums that were there. Because I think she's got 7 years, because they have to retire at 75, I believe, don't they?
Good luck to her.
So she's got 7 years to. Okay, thank you. Item 13, financial information. To receive and note the Sandwich Town Council statement of accounts as at 28th of February, income and expenditure and budget attachment 6A and 6B. Councillor Carter.
Is it right to take these on block, Mr Mayor? I propose taking them on block, and I
think so.
propose approval of them,
Yeah.
unless any councillors got any reason to query them.
Okay, got a seconder? Councillor Fox, Councillor Carter and Councillor Fox. Councillor Pennington, did you get that? Councillor Carter and Councillor Fox. Proposed and seconded. We all in favour that we note this? Oh, we've got one abstention, I think. Okay, thank you. So 14, bank account signatories. To receive and consider a report regarding the bank account signatories, attachment 7. This is where the finance officer is very worried that there might be a shortage come May. That's for Councillor Friend.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Perhaps I'll put forward a motion that this council allows existing signatories to be used up until 3 months after the next election, to allow sufficient time for any new members to be put on the bank account.
Yeah.
As a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If the council reject that, I am standing for council at the next election, so I'm happy to put my name forward if need be.
Yeah. Do we have a second of Councillor Friend's proposal?
Which one?
Councillor Friend said that the 61 stay for 3 months temporary afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sorry to, I just need to speak on this, Mr Mayor, because
Yeah.
I spoke to Karen about it as
Yeah.
well, and she said that apparently it's a risk factor that
Yeah.
should be in the risk register, and that we couldn't really leave it 3 months,
No.
because if
That was
yourself
too
or
long.
Councillor Sampson, if there was any injury, so
Yeah.
I'm prepared to, like Councillor Marie, put myself forward for this. So mine wasn't set up last time. I did put
Oh, wasn't
myself
it?
forward, but it wasn't set up by Karen. She didn't have time to set me up. But so there's 2 of us already.
Anyone else would like to put their name forward?
I'm happy to volunteer.
So did you have a second you, Councillor Friend?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah. All well and good putting people's names forward, and we should, but
Yeah.
there's significant amount of time taking between application and then being verified.
I know, it's a couple of
think
months.
in terms of running payroll and things like that, we need, obviously that's where the finance officer's concern comes in, as
Yeah.
to not being able to run the day-to-day business of the council. So yeah, we'll put some names forward, but
Yeah.
have that as a worst case
Yeah.
scenario, just to enable the council
Yeah, because I spoke to her today and she said if those councillors didn't get elected, then she's going to contact the bank that they'll have to get. So we're all in favour of that then, that we got this as Carter, Councillor Marie and Councillor Wiles. Okay. I think we're in favour of that. Thank you. Guildhall Square, to receive and consider a report from officers asking council to consider how the newly refurbished Guildhall Square should be managed moving forward. Attachment A. It's quite, Councillor Marie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I've been in discussion with the market manager, and she's asked me to read this letter out on her behalf. So I'll read this out, and then I'll make my questions after. So I want to thank Sandwich Town Council and Councillor Marie for reading and listening to my points below about the redevelopment of the Guildhall forecourt, and hope you take them on board. The Sandwich Thursday Market is an integral part of Sandwich, and I feel STC should treat it as such. At the moment, I'm the only one that does the advertising and printing of the flyers and placing boards along the bypass. At the new Guildhall forecourt place, I believe the Sandwich Town Council should be advertising the market and only encouraging people in our town, but new stallholders. The Thursday Market is one of the most expensive midweek markets. For example, at STC charging £40 by a 6x6 metre pitch space, and at Dill Market on a Saturday the space would only be £20. STC needs to keep its pitch prices at a reasonable rate. While I understand STC needs to recuperate money for the forecourt, I do not think it should be expenses of the market stallholders. This is for me. Gazebos, if STC provide them, there's 3 questions. 1, how they're going to be purchased. Number 2 is where they're going to be stored. And number 3, who is going to put them up every week for the Thursday market. As we have no staff at the moment, and events have less volunteers than Sandwich Town Council does. The toilets, it's not acceptable that the toilets are locked during the early hours in the morning when the market stalls are setting up. She has asked the Sandwich Town Council to agree if that she could be issued with a key for the Guildhall toilets, so the traders can be allowed to use the loo in the early mornings before it opens. I really think that a proper committee should be set up to oversee the Guildhall forecourt, not a working group, to include the hire of it and the market. And she thanks you very much for reading this letter. My concerns as well, Mr. Mayor, I agree with what the market manager has said, and that I believe a full committee should be set up regarding the business side of the Guildhall, because that's what it is. It's the business side of the council, the hiring and the use of the square. However, the questions are, a couple of questions is, where would the 3 questions regarding the gazebos, and number 2, the events. So there's the 8 established events within the town. Do the events now have to start paying for it? If that's the case, then the Tolbis Fund applications are going to go higher, because they're going to contribute the money towards paying for the use of the square for the weekends. Would they be included to be free because they're established? And look, my proposal is, for the time being, those are my questions, but the proposal I am putting forward is that this is deferred until after the elections, 1, and 2, for when the square is complete, that the council gets together and looks at the new square, because the whole new remit is going to be there to where position stalls, etc., because obviously the 5 new trees, and we have to accommodate the stalls within those trees, and also to accommodate the new market when it gets going. Thank you very much.
I think the concern of the officers is that there's no framework at all at the moment, is there? Are we going to allow vans? I mean, if you're talking May, then you're talking June, aren't you? So that's, I mean, can't we just sort of start a framework together?
So, Mr. Mayor, the current framework that was in place by the former chief executive was the fact that she dealt with all the bookings and stuff because it's a business side of the Guildhall. The other thing is the use of vehicles on the square. So before the square was done, a year before the square was done, the chief executive decided to ban vehicles on the square for the market. So they were allowed to come in and unload, and then they had to take the vehicles off. Regarding the other question is, obviously one thing about the vehicles is, on the August Bank Holiday weekend, the Alfa Romeo Owners Club come in every Sunday. They've been coming every Sunday of the Bank Holiday weekend for 5 years. You've been walking around seeing the lovely cars, and they're parked on the square, and there's up to 30 vehicles that we can get on the square now. So that's another thing we need to speak about regarding whether that still stands or not, because you'll lose a very reputable club that come in every year, spend loads of money around the town for the hospitality in the shops, etc. So that's be another economy buster if we get rid of that. So that's my question. But my question is to ask to recommend to be deferred until after the elections and when the square's complete, so the council can look at it before.
I think my concern is not so much the cars, it's heavy trucks coming on damaging it.
That's correct, yes.
Because sometimes some people do come with heavy stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
And if they did come with heavy stuff, they might have to put mats down or something.
Well, hopefully the new square has got a harder surface so it can hold a bit. But I agree with what you're saying. That the current time is to keep the market as it is, allow them to load and unload, and then take them off, because it's unsightly for a van to be stuck there while there's someone selling fruit and veg and stuff like that. If you see what I mean. So that's my concern. That's my concern.
Yeah. Anyone else got any concern?
Yeah, mine's more, so obviously Folk and Ale, so councillors remember many months ago we discussed the grant application for Folk and Ale, and part of that we were talking about Council's Meadow for camping, and we were talking about use of the forecourt, and we agreed that Folk and Ale could use the forecourt. And my query really is, sort of from the committee, about, depending on obviously what we pass now, or what is passed before the event, which is, end of June, beginning of July, do we now have to apply via a new process, or is it still guaranteed after we pass it the first time?
Well, I think we've already agreed to it, haven't we?
Cool, that's fine.
So I think we'll have to sort of stick to our agreements, won't we? Because, like you say, because the costings.
Yes.
And that's satisfactory.
Yeah, that's as far as I'm. Anyone? Councillor Wise?
I tend to agree with Councillor Marie. I think clearly we need a wider discussion on this, involving the market manager, the community events
people,
Steve plus the chairs of the different events, and perhaps we need to meet. I wouldn't recommend doing that after the election. I think we should do that before.
Yes, I think.
Have a quick meeting, cross-party, try and get all those people around the table and discuss an action plan. Because we need to be planning for a launch in June.
June. Yeah, Councillor Friend.
Yeah, thank you. The way that it's worked in the past is we've delegated the specific authority with the market, Councillor Carter and Morehouse, others will remember, to a particular officer, and then they worked in conjunction with a small working group to get the steer from councillors as to how that's best administered. I think that's probably the most suitable vehicle avenue to push this down. It can't wait until after the election. The forecourt will be open and running very shortly after. So in terms of our extremely limited staff numbers, I don't think we've got much option, but potentially to delegate the authority to deliver on some of these issues to the responsible finance officer, and then us to come up with a group of councillors that can work together, including other stakeholders that contribute to this process.
Yes, I was just going to support everything that's been said very recently, that we really do need to get moving on this. We can't delay until after the election. And I do think this is a suitable, that a working group would be a suitable vehicle, and I think it should be set up as quickly as possible. And involve as many of the stakeholders as possible. It's always difficult to get people together, but I really do think we need to do this before Easter, possibly can, which is only a fortnight away.
Just quickly, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to accept those proposals if I get seconded from Councillor Anderson or Councillor Wild. I'm happy to chair the working group if that's the case, because I deal with the square, with the events most of the year, so I'm quite happy to work in conjunction with councillors and the market manager and other sales events, etc. So I'm happy to amend the proposal if I get seconded.
I'll second that.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, I think the idea is the best thing is a mix of both. So what Councillor Friend has said is actually correct of how we used to manage it and how we should go ahead, and it's got to be done before the election. So my proposal would be set up a working group this evening, and then any fears about who's in and who's out in the May elections are forgotten and dismayed. And then in May, then we can set up a full committee, and I would recommend that a full committee is set up, not working group, at this present time, we need to set up a working group this evening and get on with this as soon as possible.
Next one. Councillor Friend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's important that we delegate that responsibility to the responsible finance officer. If we just convene the working group, then it will have to come back to full council in April, so that's the critical part. And we don't necessarily have to agree councillor in, but we can just make it open to any and all councillors that have an interest and want to contribute to that process. That seems easier. And yeah, we can invite as many or as few stakeholders as we feel appropriate. There's clearly a number of common themes that we all share as to who should be invited, and an open call to those groups. But delegating that responsibility to the responsible finance officer is critical. Otherwise, it will have to come back to this council, and it's going to be too late.
It's only like a brief thing, isn't it? Yeah. So.
I'd like to propose that Councillor Marie leads on this, and that maybe a meeting is convened next week or the week after. All councillors could be invited.
Could we wait, because it's the financial year, isn't it? I'd like to delay it.
Can I just put an input in that, Mr. Mayor? I'm currently in the south of France next week for us.
Yeah, I was going to say the week after.
Skiing, so if we can do it the week after, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that amongst the stakeholders are obviously market holders. I mean, the people who come and sell. And they should be involved in some way, so that rather determines when we should meet, i.e. a Thursday, and possibly Thursday
It'd be an evening, they go home at 1 o'clock. Councillor Ungerson. The problem with that is that Thursday they pack up at 1 o'clock, and this meeting would have to be in the evening, I should imagine.
Well, yes, but I mean,
you could invite them.
We can invite them. I'm not sure they'll come because I think it's just the primarily stage of what will happen with the forecourt. They just come in and trade.
That's right.
As long as they can trade, they're quite happy. So, and to be honest, Mr. Mayor, the market does need a review because it is dying a death. And I must say on film as well, I commend the market manager for all her hard work, especially with the troubles that she's had down in the car park the last couple of weeks while the forecourt's being done. So I do put that in.
Yes. Can I just add that as Chair of Heritage and Townscape, the next working group that I have in mind, because actually I think the working groups have worked very well so far, the two that we've had, and have engaged with the public. The next one I had thought would look at the market and overall footfall in Sandwich and how we promote both of those.
I think we're just going to have to
but that can happen after the election. But I think the immediate problem of dealing with the new forecourt and things like vehicular access on brand new paving, all that is a worry, and we need to deal with it quickly.
Yeah, so you're happy with Councillor Fox?
Yes. Bearing in mind access, do we need to get kind of do's and don'ts from the project manager from Dover District Council so we can explain what can happen on that square, what we should and shouldn't be doing? I think that's really important. So perhaps we should invite him as well, or at least ask him those questions.
We can ask a representative of the Dover District Council to attend, can't we?
That was one point, and sorry, the other one's fled me, so I'll sit down.
So you're all in favour that we, Councillor Marie will chair a meeting and invite all the people that are involved with the market. I think we've got a second.
Sorry, I remember what it was.
Oh.
If we're going to have a big launch in the square, some thought needs to be put into that now. If we want to have an event. So maybe this group should be tasked thinking about what kind of event we should have as well.
Absolutely. We can do that.
That's what's left my mind.
You're all in favour of that then? I think all in favour. All in favour. Thank you. Item 16, premises licence. To receive and consider a premises licence application from the Quayside Bar, attachment 9. Councillor Marie.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I've read this, the premises licence. It's two reputable people that run businesses in the town. Both of them have, one is from the Mermaid Locker, the other one is the lady from the larder. I recommend that this council seek approval on this licence for this new convenient quayside bar. If you haven't seen it, it's the old the burger that a burger horse box, whatever you want to call it. It's by Highway Marine. It's fantastic food. I was there last summer before it changed hands. They're just bringing in the licence element to sell and do certain theme nights and stuff on the quayside. It's fantastic, especially in the summer months.
Yeah, I think the chap that was the chef there, he's now started a restaurant in Ramsgate.
Correct.
So this is new lady coming in. Councillor
Yeah,
Carter.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to second that, and I just wanted to say if there was any issues or concerns over the licensing side of this venture, then obviously they could be reported up to Dover District Council, and the licensing team at Dover District Council could take up any complaints thereafter. So I'm proposing that this goes ahead.
Yeah, happy with that.
Yes, we've got a proposal and a second. Are we all in favour of this?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we are. Thank you. Item 17, staff toil. To receive and consider a report from the Mayor requesting approval of toil accumulated during absence of staff members. Attachment 10. The problem we've been having is because of our staff absences, the staff that we have got have accrued quite a lot of toil. And the thing is, if they were to take their toil, we'd have to shut. So what I'd like to those that would like the staff to have cash instead of the toil be allowed to do so. And also, I believe one of the caretakers in November was reduced from a 37.5-hour week, it's not on here, which was to, at the bottom there, is to go back to his original thing. But anyway, that's my sorry, Councillor
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm sort of happy to propose that the toil is paid. It's been exceptional circumstances due to personal illness, so I'm happy to propose that the toil is paid. They have been putting in a lot of hours and they've been working very hard, so we should support them in the way we can. If they were to take the toil, as you say, this place will close down. Finally, I was just going to say to talk about the hours of the employees, as it's not on the agenda, we won't be able to discuss that.
talk about it. No, I did ask him, but it's not on there.
Yeah. But that's my proposal.
Yeah, Councillor Marie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree totally with Councillor Carter. The staff have been under a lot of pressure the last few months regarding his illnesses and stuff, and very short staffed. So I'm quite happy to second this regarding the payments of toil.
Yeah. So we've got a proposal and a second. All in favour of this? Lovely, thank you. Item 18. Sandwich Waterways, to receive and note a report from Councillor Keith Heaven offering councillors an update on Sandwich Waterways, attachment 11. I must congratulate Councillor Heaven for such a comprehensive report.
Thank you. Well, it was produced by a working group of councillors and co-optees from the local town. Can I point out that this is the third or fourth but final draft of the report, which has taken on board contributions from many people from around the town. This is simply to ask councillors to note and approve, but I would say there are some proposals involved in the report, and I would hate to think that we would cheerfully put our hands up to note everything and then not move on with how we decide to action the various proposals. And I'd also point out that one of the main aims of the whole report was to inform and update local residents about what is going on and why. And so, not tonight, but perhaps the Heritage and Townscape Committee could take forward the discussion as to how we use the report, how we publicise it, how we make sure that the local residents get to see it very easily.
Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to propose that we note the report and that the report is carried forward to the Heritage and Townscape meeting so that the recommendations can be discussed.
Yeah, you seconding that, Councillor?
I'm seconding that.
You're all in favour of that? Lovely. Thank you.
I think Councillor Hammond should be thanked for
well, yeah.
and producing an excellent report, which hopefully we will be able to take forward. And also, it is noticeable that something is happening. I mean, I stand by those little streams and things move in the right direction. They are flowing and becoming clearer. And clearly it's having an impact.
And that's down to Councillor Heaven.
Thank you, Councillor Murray.
Mr Mayor, can I make a suggestion to the next item, please? Maybe can we continue with the Talbot Fund before we do the
Yeah,
confidential?
are council happy with that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favour, thank you. Okay,
So-
topic fund. Yeah, we'll get on this, yeah. Item 20, that is dated next full council meeting will be Monday the 24th of April. Okay.